Hello, travelers of the stars. I am Mark, and this is Tomes of Awesome. Before we get into this episode, please go ahead and hit the like button, and if you haven't already, hit the subscribe and click the bell notifications to get more updates whenever I upload. I'm trying to do this more regularly. If you do indeed decide that you like this video, and I hope that you do, please feel free to share it with your friends. Today we are going to be getting into, obviously, as you can see here, South Park: The Fractured Butthole. And yes, that's one T, not two, although they do actually say, oh my gosh, he's got a fractured butthole later on in the game. So it's funny play on words. However, more specifically than the game itself, today we're going to be getting into team builds, character builds. I found a character build that's actually very, very powerful and pretty much lets you rip through anybody like they're made of tissue paper. So I figured I'd share that with you today. Those kind of character things. First off, before anything else, let's go ahead and let's just look at the DLCs here. We've got the Danger Deck, which, as they say here, you can battle monsters and you can get costumes and stuff. I haven't actually done too much of that yet, though I do have to probably get back to that more then. However, Dusk Till Casa Bonita and Bring the Crutch. Those are the two DLCs I both highly recommend. Both of them unleash a new class, as it says in there. Dusk Till Casa Bonita gives you the Netherborn class, and Bring the Crutch gives you the Final Girl class, which is, I like to say, Sidney Prescott from Scream, but it's basically the girl that survives every horror movie, that kind of thing. Before we go any further, let me just go ahead and warn that there are, in fact, if I should have already, there are, in fact, going to be spoilers in this, as I'm going to be referencing very specific aspects of the game. So if you don't want to be spoiled, close the browser tab. Anywho, let's move on. Going into this specific character class, this character build, I don't have a specific name for this, but it is going to very specifically function using the Netherborn and the Final Girl. Yes, this is me as a giant purple dinosaur. For the record, you don't get this costume until you beat Bring the Crutch. However, I am going to warn you that Bring the Crutch is a extremely hard DLC to beat, especially those final bosses. However, if you haven't played them yet, I will simply tell you that neither of the DLCs have to be beaten straight through. You can go in, get some stuff, come back out to the regular game, level up, and then go back and finish them when you have a chance. I honestly only just recently finished beating Bring the Crutch. The final boss is extremely hard. However, let's go into my character setup here. Alright, for costume, this is what I got here. The head is known as the reptile head. Let's go ahead and remove this for a moment. This is my setup of my hair. For the record, I chose a girl character, not a boy. You don't have this option in the first game, but you do in the second one here with the character files and everything. If you just want a huge laugh when you go to talk to Mr. Mackey about sex and you're defining your character, choose any option but male, and he will go and call your mom to confirm, and it gets hilarious when he's like, so just saying the whole stick of truth and everything was a girl the whole time. Okay, well, that's good to know. I'm gay. It gets hilarious. All the features do. These are the Viper eyes. In addition to looking cool, they actually do blink, and when you go to change your expression in selfies, the Viper eyes will actually shift, so they're not just glasses. Kind of interesting there. That's me without them. One of the other interesting headsets I want to point out here is the Nico ears. Now, this might just be a graphics glitch, but I have found when you go ahead and you change both colors of the Nico ears to anything other than standard, if you will. I'm just picking a color at random. And then you go through any of the cinematic scenes, that little fur inside the ears will flicker in and out, in and out. Now, this may be just a graphics glitch, or it may be intentional. I don't know. But when that does, it actually looks like the Nico ears are actually twitching, like the real ears, which is a very simple, albeit very interesting design. It's probably just a graphics glitch, but it's kind of cool. Just saying. There we go. As far as clothes, I also have the reptile suit. It's the whole thing. The hair that I'm wearing currently is called the dirty candy hair. You get it very, very later on in the game. You can see their red and green ponytails. But as you saw earlier, if I take it off, you get your main color. And then you can just do like a highlight of another color. That's pretty cool. However, on to the main thing of this video here. Powers. Okay. Here's my current setup. For physical strength, knocking back, dealing damage, I did the Dragon Force Punch. That comes from the karate, the martial artist classification. However, doing this setup the way I have, right here where I have the Dragon Force Punch, or any of the 3 options here, you can completely set another one in. Another good one is the healing option from the Plant Mancer. It can heal absolutely everybody. Or if you want to do the charm ability from the Plant Mancer, which goes all the way across the screen and can charm someone to fight for you. That's good too. However, I have noticed that when they're charmed, you can't attack them, so it unnecessarily drags out the fight. However, as for the other 3 here, this is where it gets interesting. Hammer Bomb and Saw Bleed are from the Final Girl class that you get from Bring the Crutch. Grim Fate is the ultimate that you get from the Netherborn. And the reason I have Grim Fate as Netherborn on my ultimate, but none others here, is it actually says you make a deal with death, gaining ungodly powers for 3 turns, chilling adjacent foes. Now that means it slows down and chills all the guys around you. However, it also rechanges all of these skills in combat right then and there to the straight up, all across the bar, Netherborn abilities. Now that may not, and it strengthens them. They're actually stronger than normal. Now that may sound like, okay, whatever, but what that means is, depending on whether or not you set the ultimate here, you can have up to 6, 7 different combat abilities, depending on whether or not you include this one. But just here, you can have up to 6 different abilities slotted into your combat scheme instead of 3, because you can use this, the Grim Fate, to switch your entire combat scheme on the fly. For the record here, so many classifications. Don't worry, you get all the classes at the end of the game. All right. The Netherborn right here. The Soul Slash cuts a path through all enemies in scythe range and then dealing damage and knockback. So that just kind of knocks them across the screen. However, the Ghostly Grasp, it attacks any enemies that are adjacent to you and then extends out and extends out and extends out. So you can hit every enemy on the screen. And then the Dire Shroud is very interesting. It can heal and do protection and regen on you, but the same exact thing can also curse and do defense down on enemies. So it's a neat ability that can both attack and defend. Also, I'd like to point out here that we have a Spunk, a Brains, and a Brawn, one of each ability for that class. So that's a little of everything. You can't really use all of these unless you're boosting everything. The Fatal Trim is it's okay. It does bleeding damage, which is kind of nice, but I like the saw blades and I like the hammer bomb best. That is spunk and brains, and I'm going to explain why in a couple minutes. For the record here, right over here, this is the Dragon Force Punch. This is the charm ability, Sweet Scent, I was talking about. The Root Burst is actually pretty cool too. It stretches across the whole screen and it just does bleeding on everybody. But this is the Purifying Petals, the healing one I talked about. However, I don't have that on my party because I have Henrietta. Now, the other thing about these DLCs is that each DLC gives you a new permanent character. In this case, I specifically have Henrietta. Now, Henrietta, despite being a Satanist witch, actually has almost all stat benefits, with the exception of her first brains ability there, which is that she actually breathes a path of fire like a dragon across the entire screen, lighting people on fire. But the thing I really want to show off is her ultimate. Her ultimate attacks everybody by summoning the powers of Satan. However, even as it attacks other people, it heals everyone on screen, and it doesn't do it for a small amount. It does it for a massive amount. So even though she's a Satanist witch, Henrietta is actually one of the best healers in the entire game. I have Professor Chaos on here simply because he can summon minions. His spunk ability there can electrocute enemies to give them electro charge, but it works in diagonal and a few spaces away. So if you have that really annoying thing where it's like they're just down to the left and right or up into the left and right and you can't quite line them up, he can still hit them. And then his brains ability there, the other brains ability, is an energy blast that shoots across the screen. Makes it really nice. I have Call Girl on here because she does Phone Destroyer and does like damage down. She does a bunch of physical attacks. Her ultimate hits everybody on the screen, but you could easily replace her with Super Craig. Does a lot of physical combat and knockbacks. I like Human Kite because of his first of the two spunk abilities there. The first one, the whirlwind thing, will actually drag your own heroes towards you across the screen for healing, and also, especially when you get into the Shoggoth boss challenge fight when you're going at the police station, that's a very big thing because every other turn, he either kills everybody on the screen or actually devours their corpses, which damage the enemy, but then it's impossible to resurrect your friends, which makes it quite a challenge. The other person I might say is Kenny, because even when he dies, Mysterion comes back to life as his ultimate. He can resurrect himself, which is pretty cool, and he can dance and generally jump around the screen. One last thing in terms of my actual artifacts, I just want to say I have found, although the Sash of Merit, I was about to say something, but the Sash of Merit actually is really, really useful. What does it say here? 24% ultimate meter when your team takes 0 health damage during an attack. It's pretty good, but more importantly, it boosts your whole stats. All your stats, you know. I cannot remember how the hell I got the Vainglorious Scepter. But basically, it builds everything up with each Kunstagram member you get. However, while I don't have them equipped here, some of the other truly amazing ones, which you only get from the Casa Bonita vampire thing, is the Skull of Sick Burning. And I like this. And in truth, if it wasn't for the stats thing right now, I would probably put it on right now. Yeah, let's put this on. The Skull of Sick Burning basically says that anytime any enemy whatsoever in the game attacks your personal hero and you manage to push X, you know, when they do, they will instantly catch on fire. And for the record, that does in fact stack. So, I'm going to come out here, and I know for a fact there's a ninja right outside my house. I'm going to take you guys into a combat scene here, and we're going to show you just why I like this combat mechanic that I do. because combining the final girl
Fight now, you dishonorable coward!
combining the final girl and the Netherborn just for that ultimate the way I did makes things really, really interesting.
Couldn't even find your own
Only
warrior
3
identity,
ninjas?
huh?
That's not much difficulty.
Glad to be
Okay.
working with you, new kid.
Now, here we go. We're starting up. We're going to do this very simple because this is how it works. We start with the saw blade, and we put this right here. 3 of them. You actually have to set it up to do it right. Now, these saws will bury down, but then every single movement, they won't cause bleeding. They cause hemorrhaging, which is even worse. And as the ninja is trying to dodge and move down, he hits the blades again and again. Now, the other skill I have to mention here is the Tesseract clone or the Time clone, which summons a second you. Now, the funny thing about the second you is it has he or she has all the same powers that you do. So if you set up a second ring of blades here and you just slightly shift them so the space on the left that wasn't cleared is now cleared here, and so on and so forth, you can now create a virtual danger zone in which you can just juggle your enemies like Eddie Gordo from Tekken 3 back in the day. And it really is just that easy.
Let me show you some real
Now,
shadow art.
Henrietta, the Satanist witch, her main thing I like to use, the cigarette burn, is exactly that. It's just 1 X push, and boom, she lights your enemies on fire for pretty nice damage. Yeah, go ahead, summon more ninjas, because I need more people to kill. Honestly, this is just way too easy.
Bad news, villains. I'm a good guy now.
Alright, now the reason as I said before, the reason I chose him in here is because the idea that Butters can just summon an extra minion, which is yet another person to do combat. If you need 1 extra turn to do a little extra damage to beat your foes or whatever, that just works really nicely. So nice. I don't want to show that though, I want to show this. Now, the hammer bomb. Here is where the hammer bomb becomes probably one of the most amazing maneuvers ever. Okay, first you select your enemy. He takes his stance. Then it gives you a time to back up and get the hell out of range. Then you hit it again, and this is where it gets interesting. You see the arrows? You can choose which direction they get knocked back, which means I can knock him right through the saw blades and into himself. Now, he not only got hemorrhaging damage, but it knocked him out of range. And if they walk off of the saw blades, I can use this maneuver to knock them right back onto the saw blades. And as the saw blades hemorrhaging and the flaming all stacks, you can literally murder people in just seconds. Mere seconds. Oh god, what's this moron doing?
I might need a do-over. Okay, bye for now.
Anyhow. Yeah. Oh, here's the other thing I learned. Oh, that's right. She doesn't have the artifact. Here's the other thing. If they take hemorrhaging twice in a row, they will actually stop their turn. They'll miss their turn, which is kind of nice. Giving you yet even another turn to attack. I kind of like that. Good, we're ready for ultimate. Ninjas are Japanese, not Korean, you idiot. Anyhow, I'm gonna show you this.
Even the way they die is lame.
Also, I don't know who voiced Henrietta, but I love the actress so much. They're so sarcastic. It's just fantastic.
Let me guess.
Now here we come to this part. Okay, I've got the ultimate set up ready. Maybe your system isn't working for you. So, what we do is we hit the Netherborn ultimate. Yeah, it looks cool as shit. However, that doesn't end your turn either. You get an extra turn. And if you notice now, we have 3 completely different skills. Three completely different skills to use. I'm going to go with this one. And this will last for 2 or 3 turns. As I said again previously, this will change up your entire combat mechanic. Now I'm going to go ahead and use the hammer bomb. Let me climb all the way over here. And I'm going to aim him back up through the saw blades upwards. That completely knocks him out of the way so that he can't even aim for anybody. Not to mention now there's like 3 different stacks of things damaging him. So he'll literally be dead by next turn.
People really pay you for whatever that was?
And he's gone.
Did somebody ping me?
No, no one pinged you.
It's the stroke of midnight somewhere.
Also, if you need help other than flaming, well, you know what they say, got Satan.
Praise Satan.
Thank you.
Protected and attack
Reading to
up.
that sounds fine.
Prepare to suffer, fools.
And he's expired.
Don't try too hard, butthole.
Now, I'm going to show you some of the other abilities here. This is the Shroud one I mentioned. It can bless you, and it can also hurt them. Defense down, massive
Time
damage.
to take out the trolls.
And let's just burn him away.
Maggots will be crawling out.
Hey, fellas, that was super neat.
Nice, I got some good money. Now, that alone was just just example of the abilities of the setup I have. Of course, obviously, you're able to tweak and justify it and change it as you will. However, if you notice from the center here, the one power I do keep, the genetic one, no matter what else you get, is ungodly strength. And the reason is because it raises brawn, brains, and spunk, all 3 of them simultaneously straight up. Now, if you remember when I showed off the Netherborn abilities, those abilities actually have one of each of those traits. But between the martial artist, the Netherborn, and the final girl, which is the setup I have, it also uses all 3 traits. Either way, it increases everything, but it doesn't decrease health or movement at all. I should also say that when you complete the DLCs, Bonita gives you the touch of youth. Michael Jackson, such a creepy thing. And there is another skill that you get here from the Bring the Crutch. Oh yeah, this one here, the Alien Evolution. Now that one takes the brains and the bronze sky high, but it lowers the spunk, which might be good for some people, and it also increases movement by 1, yes, but it also lowers health. That might be good for some people, but I tend to generally go across the 3 main things there for my combat, so it doesn't quite work for me. But once again, it's each to their own. However, there is one thing last thing I want to talk about here, and that is the time clone ability. Where is it here? Inventory. Okay, to get the time clone, you need yes, you need the chocolate the memberito, okay? And in order to get that, you need to complete 1 quest, and you need to acquire the bucket of memories. No, it's not on here because it's a crafting item. Okay, so I'm going to show you where both of these things are. In order to get the memberito, you need the double stuff chocolate brownie. Now you get that from a quest entitled Baking, which is on here. I've completed all of these things. Anyway, it's the quest where Cartman's mom asks you to hand out her business cards. Specifically, she wants you to hand them out over here at Skeeter's Wine Bar. Now, that's actually very unique and nice because Skeeter's Wine Bar is also where you need to go to get one of the other items for this quest. It's not really a quest. In fact, it's not actually labeled as a quest, but in order to get this item, to get this power so you can have 2 U's on the battlefield, you need to do this. Specifically, what you need to do is come over here to Skeeter's Bar. You have to have the human kite ability of the Farcore, as I believe they call it, unlocked. And then you come over here to Skeeter's Bar. See, I've already done it. What you do is you fly up to the ceiling up there, and then there's a thing of dynamite you can push over, and basically you knock down the air vent, the air ventilation system. Among other things that you find among the trash is a crank. Now the crank is used very specifically in one location in the entire game, and there is absolutely no purpose to it whatsoever for anything else other than to get this time far. I'm not going to go there because there's no warp point. But right here,
Are we doing this or what?
the Hillville Farm. Now you can't access this location until after you've already gone through the You Store It, defeated Butters, and switched
head on the
teams
clouds.
temporarily to the Freedom Pals and all of that. That's the only time this opens. The whole Canadian wall. Once you get up to Hillvale, there is a small wine press on the side, and once you attach the crank, you can turn it to get the bucket of membranes. Now, once you combine the two of those together, you get the chocolate memberito, and that is what gives you the ability to split and create a second you, which will have the same setup for powers that you do, which is you summoning your own minion. Also, very, very, very useful, helping out with that combat ability. And that's about everything I have to say. I will say that I've beaten both of these DLCs before. And that's how I actually started this game file that I'm on now with these skills. I only beat Bring the Crunch for the first time, though, just now. It has the Dream Catcher, which is also pretty good, I do believe. Is it on here? Yeah, it is. Oh, yeah, it lowers the... It affects status effects. Receive 40% less damage from status effects. That's also a pretty good one. But all in all, the Gatekeeper of Ryla and the Skull of Sick Burning are among my favorites. As with the Cthulhu mythos, anytime you or... Is it just you? Wait a second here. Oh, no, it says when revived, anyone gets 20% protection equal to 25% of their maximum health, and they get attack up because Cthulhu lies dead dreaming and all that kind of thing. Cthulhu, the Gatekeeper of Ryla, is not unlocked from beating the DLC. You actually have to play the skee ball game, stick those wooden balls up your butt, and fire them at skee ball because, what the hell, we couldn't just roll the skee ball. We have to do it South Park style. If I remember correctly, I believe the Gatekeeper of Ryla costs something along the lines of 30 tokens, or 30 tickets, I believe. But once you get it, just like everything else from the DLCs, it is permanently saved to your account, which means every game file that you start for the rest of eternity will have these abilities in. So that was everything I have to talk about here on South Park. I still find it kind of funny that South Park would be so fantastic for an RPG game, but apparently it really does. So these are